In the name of Allah, the most gracious and most merciful. Nigerians, my dear compatriots. It has been a year since the National Council for the Safeguarding of the Fatherland (CNSP) under my leadership decided to take charge of the destiny of our country, Niger. Indeed, the existential threats facing Niger left little choice to any patriot anxious to prevent his country from heading towards the dark shores of terrorism, and this notwithstanding the placement of the country under the supervision of foreign military bases. The plundering of resources, the preferential treatment and the gagging of fundamental freedom constituted the private life of the fallen regime, despite the democratic facet displayed and praised by the former colonial power to compensate for the vassalization of the regime. Victim of this situation, our people adhered to the new march printed by the CNSP, transforming the coup d'état into a vast movement of national liberation and the reconquest of popular dignity. This distrust of the fallen regime, combined with the threat and unfair sanctions imposed by AES, has led to the rejection of any external influence by the people of Niger. At the national level, the change has generated an unprecedented patriotic surge, the expression of the deep aspirations of our people for freedom, dignity and national sovereignty. It is conscious of the immense hope raised by the events of July 26, 2023, that in order to be in symbiosis with popular aspirations, the CNSP has committed itself under my leadership, on the one hand, to the rebuilding within the country and, on the other hand, to the construction of the Sahel alliance in our immediate neighborhood. Our ambition for Niger, as you know, is based on four axes, namely the strengthening of security and social cohesion, the promotion of good governance, the development of production bases and finally, the acceleration of social reforms. The strong support of the population for the momentum given on July 26, 2023, requires us together to carry out the work of unexpected reconstruction with unwavering patriotic commitment. It is in this context that I have urged the government to implement the necessary measures and actions to achieve the vision of the National Council for the Safeguarding of the Homeland as part of a program designed to strengthen our resilience and ensure the development of production bases by learning lessons from the impact of illegal, iniquitous and inhuman sanctions by an AES under orders.
Inhumaine d'une CEDEAO aux ordres.
Mission letters have been given to members of the government to conduct a sectoral assessment. My dear compatriots, in terms of defense and territorial security, the rise of our forces in theaters of operations is no longer in doubt. Whether it is the fight against terrorism in the Lake Chad Basin or in the fight against organized crime, our defense and security forces are achieving successes. This is the place to pay a vibrant tribute to our defense and security forces for the heavy sacrifice made in the service of our populations. The entire nation, through me, expresses its gratitude to you and demonstrates its solidarity with the widows and orphans of soldiers who fell on the field of honor.
Solidarité envers les veuves et les orphelins des soldats tombés sur le champ d'honneur. Pour ma part,
For my part, I swear to guarantee the rise in power of our defense and security forces by reaffirming the firm determination of all competent authorities to continue strengthening the capacities of our armed forces.
à poursuivre le renforcement des capacités de nos forces armées. L'État
The state will continue to invest in the acquisition of the substantial means required to meet the threat.
requis à la hauteur de la menace. Nigerians,
the conquest of sovereignty requires above all the exploitation of national resources for the benefit of our populations.
À cette fin,
To this end, I have launched in all regions of the country the large-scale irrigation program whose objective is to ensure the exploitation of agro-pastoral potential with a view to achieving our food sovereignty.
de potentiel agro-pastoral en vue de l'atteinte de notre souveraineté alimentaire. Ce programme phare
This flagship program undertaken with its own financing promises satisfactory results.
satisfaisant. S'agissant de la souveraineté sur
With regard to sovereignty over our extractive resources, it will be built through the promotion of the principle of local content,
local, dont l'objectif
the objective of which lies in the obligation for mining and oil industries to use local micro and medium-sized enterprises and national personnel as a priority.
le micro et moyenne entreprise locale et le personnel national. Une ordonnance
An ordinance will be adopted very soon for this purpose.
Dans l'affirmation de notre souveraineté,
In asserting our sovereignty, the National Council for the Safeguarding of the Fatherland intends to ensure that all provisions of mining and oil legislation are strictly and without discrimination.
toutes les dispositions de législation minière et pétrolière. Toute société minière ou pétrolière
Any mining or oil company will simply have its exploration or exploitation permit withdrawn if it violates the contractual provisions.
si elle viole les dispositions réglementaires contractuelles. Le bloc pétrolier Bilma
The Bilma oil block, the R5, R6, and R7 Agadem blocks, the Amurarine mining permits and that of Madoela have fallen back into the public domain of the state.
et celui de Madoela sont retombés dans le domaine public de l'État. Je puis également vous
I can also confirm the upcoming launch of the project to build an oil and petrochemical complex in Dosso as well as the creation of an oil and gas institute in Zinda.
à Dosso ainsi que la création d'un institut de pétrole et de gaz à Zender. L'école nigérienne
The Nigerian school, vocational training and the spirit of excellence and enterprise will constitute the major pillar of the rebuilding and consolidation of our sovereignty because the national fate can only be guaranteed by responsible citizenship in public policies and the banishment of the culture of mediocrity and impunity.
être garantie que par une citoyenneté responsable dans les politiques publiques et le bannissement de la culture de la médiocrité et de l'impunité.
Nigerians, on the geopolitical level, I am pleased to point out that we have succeeded in concert with Burkina and Mali, as enshrined by the first summit of heads of state of the Alliance of Sahel States held on July 6, 2024 in Niamey.
par le premier sommet des chefs d'État de l'Alliance des États du Sahel tenu le 6 juillet 2024 à Niamey. Le passage au pas de charge
The rapid transition from the Alliance of Sahel States to the Confederation of Sahel States, achieved in the space of barely 10 months, despite the pitfalls posed by those who are disturbed by our independence, illustrates in itself our fierce determination to build a sovereign area of security and prosperity on the Sahelian foundation.
de bâtir sur le socle sahélien un espace souverain de sécurité et de prospérité. Le traité mis en lumière par
The treaty highlighted by the Niamey Declaration creates a state union structured around three strategic axes, namely defense and security, development and diplomacy.
La défense et la sécurité, le développement et la diplomatie. Je tiens devant vous
I would like to thank my brothers, Presidents Ibrahim Traoré and Assimi Goïta, once again, for the titanic work accomplished despite all the threats made and all the plots hatched against Sahel states.
malgré toutes les menaces proférées et tous les complots ourdis contre l'AES. Je fais également le serment
I also swear to work towards the operationalism of the Confederation of Sahel states, for which I have already appointed a national committee. My dear compatriots, rest assured that the path we are following is resolutely on the trajectory of breaking with the neocolonial order and establishing a win-win partnership with all countries of the world and the price of peace, and this without exclusivity.
avec tous les pays du monde et prix de paix et ce sans exclusive. À cet égard,
In this regard, Niger will respect all the commitments made with the international community.
la communauté internationale. La désinformation
The disinformation orchestrated by neocolonial bodies and certain renegade compatriots in the role of living room slaves, according to the formula of my brother President Ibrahim Traoré, will not divert us from our triumphant march towards sovereignty.
Président Ibrahim Traoré ne nous détournera pas de notre marche triomphale vers la souveraineté. Aucun État,
No state,
aucune organisation
no interstate organization will dictate to us the conduct to be held or its agenda in terms of strategic or diplomatic partnership.
de partenariat stratégique ou diplomatique. Et ceux qui fantasment
And those who fantasize about the imminent return to the saddle of the fallen regimes in their pay will be disheartened.
à leur solde vont déchanter. Ils devront se rendre à l'évidence.
They will have to face the facts before it is too late.
Notre marche
Our march towards full and complete sovereignty is inexorable.
est inexorable. Mes chers compatriotes,
My dear compatriots, it is within the resolute framework of this march that a series of preliminary measures and actions taken by the National Council for the safeguarding of the fatherland to further establish our sovereignty are included, namely, and without being exhaustive, the denunciation of the defense and security agreements that bind Niger to France,
la dénonciation des accords de défense et de sécurité qui lient le Niger à la France, le renvoi
the dismissal of the French ambassador as persona non grata,
la suspension des droits de
the suspension of broadcasting rights in Niger of certain Sahel propaganda media,
français, le retrait du Niger
the repeal of Law 2015, Indent 36 of May 26, 2015, relating to the illicit trafficking of migrants,
du 26 mai 2015 relatif au trafic illicite des migrants. Le retrait du Burkina, du Mali et du
the withdrawal of Burkina, Mali and Niger from ECOWAS,
la dénonciation de l'accord
the denunciation of the military agreement between Niger and Benin,
la nationalisation de la
the nationalization of the National Water Company,
la dénonciation de la
the denunciation of the tax convention between Niger and France,
la France, la dénonciation
the denunciation of the agreement relating to the status of military personnel of the United States.
des États-Unis. Nigériennes,
Nigerians, my dear compatriots, other measures such as the creation of the Commission to Combat Economic, Financial and Tax Delinquency aim to clean up the socio-economic climate by restoring the state and our populations to their rights.
elle à assainir le climat socio-économique en rétablissant l'État et nos populations dans leurs droits. L'œuvre de reconstruction
The work of reconstruction can only be done with the help of all, and by jointly diagnosing past errors in order to achieve the administration of consistent remedies adapted to the prevention of economic delinquency.
conséquent et adapté à la prévention de la délinquance économique. C'est dans cette optique
It is with this in mind that I have set up for more than 2 months a technical committee responsible for summarizing the outcomes of the regional inclusive forums
issues des assises
organizing the holding of the forums and proposing the organizational arrangements for the upcoming holding of the National Inclusive Forum. Long live Niger! Long live the Confederation of Sahel States! Thank you.